All right, good morning and welcome to today's market color session. My name is Abi, and I'm going to be taking the first part of today's analysis, which will be covering analysis on commodity currencies, after which my colleague is going to do his analysis on indices, right? So I'm going to be starting today's analysis with a brief look at a news release that came out yesterday, because it's going to play a role in what we see in the market today. But before we proceed, I'd like to implore that we please share this link with one person, tell a friend to join the market color session that we host here at the VFT Academy on a daily basis. It is totally free and comes at no extra cost to you. All right, okay, so I believe we're already doing that. While you're doing that, let us proceed. So early on today, we saw a news release, a news headline saying that Trump is calling for a ceasefire. So he said, ceasefire is now in effect, please do not violate it. And after seeing this, I knew it was going to have an effect on the chart, because ceasefire typically means de-escalation, right? So you see traders begin to unwind from their safe haven positions and move into riskier assets. So commodities like oil will begin to dip, which means CAD will dip. Then we'll see more strength going into AUD, strength going into NZD as well. And for USD CAD as an asset class, we'll see it begin to dip lower, because USD is down, Canadian dollar, or CAD rather, is also down. But what is generally moving the market predominantly is dollar weakness. So having that in mind, let us now look at the chart. So starting from AUD USD on the H4 timeframe, you can see that price sunshine was printed. It bought all the way here. Ideally, we would have seen a continuation of this most recent price action to the downside, but price violated majority of the zones, even on the H1 time frame. If you look at the H1 time frame as well, price happened to violate through this level to the upside. So it's giving more signs that AUD USD would most likely continue buying. Coming to the M5 time frame to mark out even more specific price points, as we always do, yesterday's high and low, day before yesterday's high and low, which are the four different levels you're seeing marked out on the chart. Price has now violated all of them, right? So of course, we're going to see temporal retracements for the buy, most likely the buy to continue. So having that in mind and looking at what the chart is doing, is giving me more signs that we may just see AUD USD buy continuation. Also looking at NZD USD, NZD USD on the H4 time frame as well. Sunshine printed, we expected retracement, but price looks like it's also violating different levels that could have served as resistance to continue the most recent price action movement to the downside, right? So H4, are you going to hold here? We're going to keep watching. On the H1 time frame, you see that we have certain zones, but let me go ahead and readjust this. These were from last week's markup. So moving into today's analysis proper, this has zones that should serve as resistance for NZD USD to continue to sell, right? Following what it has been doing since the 16th or rather 15th of June. However, price has violated these zones. It has also violated this. So is it possible that we're going to see NZD USD be a break above and a retest of this level to continue upward? Or is it going to eventually continue selling regardless of it breaking the zone? We're going to keep watching, right? So on M5 now, M5, same thing I did on AU, marked out the four basic level points, yesterday's low, yesterday's high, day before yesterday's high, day before yesterday's low. Price has now broken through all of these zones. Is there going to be a temporal sell-off of NZD USD? Of course, to give us good enough entries. So these are levels that could serve as support levels for NU to continue upward. It could sell into the zone, find support, continue to buy, was my bias. Please mute your microphones so as not to cause disruptions for the rest of us. All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to do that on my end. Okay, so if you have any question, please just type in the chat box and I'll attend to them. Okay, so price has broken through this zone. I'm thinking it's going to sell into our trend. That is all the way down here, about 0.59729 before we see a buy continuation. So of course, not all of us have the indicators. It's not an issue. Take note of the price point. So for the sake of those of us who are not a student of the VFT Academy, I'll go back to the H1 so you can take note of those levels that I marked out. This is the first one is 0.59729. The second is 0.60237. This is on the H1 perspective, right? So price continues to break above, we know that NZD is going to buy. Also bearing in mind that currently it's looking like a risk on play. Safe havens are being dumped, dollars specifically, and money of value is flowing into commodity currencies. So M5 as well, what are we now looking at? On M5, I'm looking at price retesting 0.59729. Come here, give a confirmation. I'm going to be looking for buys of this asset class. All right. Okay, so let's now look at USD CAD. For USD CAD, now remember we stated that with the ceasefire being called, we're going to see oil dumping, which means CAD is going to also be dumping. We'll also have USD also weak, right? So of course, it's very clear why we're seeing sell-offs of this asset class. So on H4, you can see sunshine printed. It is starting to sell. On H1 time frame now, I'm still going to go ahead and mark out zones that could serve as support. Zones that could serve as support on this particular asset class. So we have two major zones. Go ahead and delete the third because we don't really need it right now. So price has now traded into our first point of interest, which is 1.37111, and we're seeing reactions from that level. The second point of interest on H1 is 1.36632. So now that price is beginning to react off the zone, is that going to be a buy on USD CAD? Let's go to M5. Now on M5, we're going to be looking for more confirmations, specifically on M1. We take our entries on the 1 minute time frame. I'm going to want to see not just reactions, but a confirmation that this zone is going to hold before I even start thinking, okay, am I going to go along with technicals and look for a buy, technicals or indicators, right? And look for a buy position on USD CAD, or am I going to be waiting till tomorrow because we have a news release coming out tomorrow, but I'll touch on that a bit later. So on M5 time frame now, my zones have been marked out. Price, it's already even violated that zone we saw on H1, broke below, and it has now traded above. If price happens to break above these two levels and gives me a retest, then it is possible we see a USD CAD by continuation, regardless of the overall dollar weakness that we're seeing. And if not, and it just comes back to retest, then we're seeing a sell of USD CAD all the way down here. It's going to be selling into 1.36632, right? Okay, so the temporal reaction is, I think this dollar move might be short-lived. What is going to give us a clearer perspective is going to be tomorrow. So you want to keep an eye out for Powell's testimony, which comes out tomorrow. It could be down, double down on the dollar. If his stance comes out, we could see more weakness for the dollar, or depending on what he says, if it's dovish, then we know that we just may see a continuation of the dollar weakness. And you also want to keep an eye on US data this week. You want to keep an eye on GDP revisions as well. This could shift sentiment. All of those you can find on Forex Factory. Simply let's go back to the browser so you can see where we'll find that. And this is for the sake of those of us that are, totally new. So tomorrow, or rather, let's start from today, Tuesday, June 24th, we have GBP coming out. BOE, Governor Bailey speaks on the pound, CPI on the CAD, median CPI on Canadian dollar as well. Then later on, we have Fed Chair Powell testifies on the dollar by 3 p.m., which is today. BOE Governor speaks, this is on the pound. Our focus for the sake of this analysis is on the dollar and commodity currencies, right? So we have CAD news release coming out and one coming out on the dollar by 3 p.m. And then tomorrow, again, Fed Chair Powell testifies, as I stated earlier. So you want to keep an eye out on that as well. And then CPI coming out on the Aussie. All of these could change the sentiment of what we're currently seeing on the chart. So please do well to pay attention to all of that. So this is my perspective, a brief recap for AUD USD. I'm looking at the buy continuation, especially for this session. So we could see buy continuations of this asset class. Come back, give us confirmation. We're not going to be jumping in for a buy right now because this is already pretty high. So what are we waiting for? We're waiting for retracement into good enough zone so that we can continue to buy this asset class, provided confirmations are met at these different levels. What are the levels we're looking out for? Again, those four levels are marked out: 0.64855, that is one. Somewhere between this trend, using the crosshair, you can see 0.64571 is another point of interest I'm paying attention to. And then finally, the other two levels we marked out somewhere around 0.64190 and 0.63715. Price retraces into these levels, gives me confirmation I'm going to be longing Aussie, provided my confirmation entries are met. And if not, it breaks below and keeps tanking, then we know that we're having a continuation of AUD USD sell. However, I am more on the bullish side than the bearish, but we're going to see. Remember, the market is reactive, so it is so important to pay attention to fundamentals. Quick recap on NZD/USD as well. Same thing. Price has been selling since the 17th of June, somewhere around June. Been selling, came back to give a retracement. Ideally, we should have seen NZD/USD sell continuation, but based off of the fundamental release that came out, or the news release rather, news headline that came out for the ceasefire, we're now seeing price pushing to the upside. It has violated what could have served as a resistance, but it has not given us a confirmation on lower time frames to enter a position. So if confirmations are given, we could be looking for buy positions. And if those confirmations are not printed on the chart, even if NZD/USD continues to buy and we're not in the market, we are fine. We need our confirmation at every point in time, right? Remember, you cannot take everything from the market. What you want to do is to stick to your rules at every point in time. Okay, so on NZD/USD M5, same thing I already stated. It's been buying, give us good enough entries and confirmations. We're going to start to buy NZD/USD. And for USD CAD, again, we're seeing weakness on both asset classes, but the predominance is on the dollar, and this could be short-lived. So depending on what Fed Powell says, if he maintains a dovish stance, then we could see the continuation of dollar weakness. If not, we're going to still keep watching, right? Okay, that's pretty much it. I hope this was clear. So at least one person, if you have any questions, this is the right time to ask before we move into the second half of this session. Do we have any questions? Was this helpful? Are we good to go? All right, thank you, Mr. Femi. Okay, so we're going to be moving into the second half of the session. Please do not go anywhere. We'll be back in less than 1 minute to continue and wrap up before we move into the 2 p.m. session. All right, with that being said, thank you. Cheers. God bless. Thank you, Innocent.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the second part of this market color, and we'll be looking at the US markets. That's the US30, NAS100 and also S&P500, looking at how those markets are doing, right? It's been an interesting time. So far so good with the market. We've seen different and several shades of drama in the past few weeks. Very, very interesting. Right, because as of last week, we were very, should I say, indifferent about our position in the market because of what was going on and the situation of things around that period. However, so many things have changed significantly, right, as a result of the war, which we rightly stated last week. We've seen a lot of compromise. As of last week, we were contemplating, will Trump intervene? Will he, just use proxy? But so far so good, like my colleague mentioned, we've seen that intervention in the whole grand scheme, and then if both reached a compromise, at least from what the news says, right? And because of that, we're seeing a rally to the upside, right, for US30 across even US 100, that's NASDAQ and S&P 500. We've seen a rally across board, and we are beginning to return to our bullish mood, right? So to confirm this bullishness for me, I'll be looking for certain things like we stated the first time, which is that I want to see a break above this zone, right? I want to see price break above this zone. We've seen a retest so far. So good. Let me put it on line chart. Yeah, we've seen a retest on this line several times. Right now, it's giving us what I think I want to see. The way this bullish candle is closing up, I want to see it close like that, not a weak. I don't want to see any weak rejection, a close to the upside. Then what I would do is that I'll wait for a retest of this. Right, that'll be on Wednesday. Today's Tuesday, that'll be on Wednesday. A retest of this candle, just a weak retest, and then continuation. Because if for any reason this closes as a very bullish candle, then we should expect the rally to just continue to the upside, right? And then eventually, this will be an easy game for liquidity to be stripped around here, liquidity to be cleared around this zone, right? So I want to see that price gives us that strong bullish candle to the upside, which we have been looking for the past how many months now. We've not seen that. What we've been seeing around this zone is rejection, but I believe this is the fourth touch. So we should most likely see that bullish push to the upside. Even the candlestick giving us a semblance of that, right? On the 4-hour time frame, what are we seeing on the 4-hour time frame? On the 4-hour time frame, price is eventually very, very, very bullish, right? If you didn't get to enter the trade from this zone, most likely you are not in this trade, all right? If you didn't catch this trade from the start, you most likely are not in the trade because it has moved already, right? It has moved already. So, but for me, where will I be looking forward to, take a buy? Because as of last week, we were selling this market myself, right? And I showed us, okay, it's to be a tough decision to know whether market is gonna come back to this zone, but this looks like a very good zone for a buy, right? To the upside, this fair value gap here looks like a very good zone that price might want to come into, and then we'll start buying again, right? In sweep of this zone and then break to the upside, price coming back. Is there a possibility? Can price come back there? It will be very tricky because if price comes back to this zone today, then we won't see the bullish candlestick we're looking for in the 1-hour time frame, which is a very strong confirmation to what we want to see in the market, right? So probably today price continues to rally, then tomorrow we see a tap into this zone again, and then it continues its original direction of the rally. Let me look at 30 minutes if there's something interesting on 30 minutes. Really nothing really interesting or exciting like that on 30 minutes. So this is an area I'll be watching out for clearly to see how price is going to reduce, price is going to react, right? We have another one here, which is the other block, and this other block here, which I believe price tapped into it. For any reason, we should see, a rejection, strong rejection. Now, can the rejection give us good risk to reward? That's another separate question. Probably this sort of rejection might do just 1:2 or 1:3 and then continue its movement to the downside. That's if we see price selling off again, right? But from what we have this morning from fundamentals, right, because the president of United States has confirmed, right, using strong words like there won't be any war again, right, between two parties because they've come to a compromise. And those are strong words in the market, right? If that remains true and we don't see anybody violating that, peace treaties, then I believe we would see the rally continuing, right? So bullishness in the market has returned, right? Altogether it has returned. We'll be looking for buys. Unlike last week, there was so many uncertainties for this week and sports. Until we get further news, we'll be looking for buys in the market, right? Because I've said earlier, when it comes to US30, NASDAQ, and S&P 500, technical analysis might not be of so much help, right? It works well, right? When the market is really in a state of it's kind of neutral when the market is neutral. But when there are strong fundamentals, especially with the current president we have, you want to watch out. His streets carry weight more than other block or fair value gap, right? His streets can disregard any analysis or anything you're doing. So with the position of the White House on this matter now, we just want to align with what they're saying, and then with that, we can take no action to the upside as they are insinuating, right? And on our US100 as NASDAQ, we have almost the same analysis. All of them, they're beginning to do what? They're beginning to, push the upside. So this is one thing that is very, very interesting here, guys. If we use correlation, right, between the two asset class, that's NASDAQ and US30, if for any reason NASDAQ continues to, or NASDAQ sweep through this high today, right? This is the former all-time high, sweeps through this all-time high today. What do you expect for US30? US30 eventually is going to catch up to go and sweep its own previous all-time high. But look at the gap. We still have enough gap between where US30 is currently now and the all-time high, right? Meaning that if for any reason we miss the one on US100, right, we would anticipate the move to happen on US30 and then use that to bank on this trade. For example, now for me, I'm waiting to see this happen on US100, right? Let the previous high be cleared, and then let's also have new price discovery, right? New highs, and that will now give me confidence to look for opportunities for buy, long-term buy. You can swing it all the way, right? And it's going to make sense for the swing position. All right, I'm going to the 4-hour time frame. What can we see here? You can see that price has rejected our levels that we bought last week and that we sold last week. Price has really done its thing, right? And it's rejected all of this level. So I'm looking at this. Price might do what it usually does, which is fair value gap, reacting off from fair value gaps, right? It's under fair value gap just below here. So let's go to the 1-hour time frame and see, okay? And so this is a zone that matches with the fair value gap, right? This was violated, and then I believe if price come any close to this zone, we should see like a rejection to the upside, right? In fact, we have two what's it called, trade markup for me personally that I want to see. Price comes here into this, and then we continue to the upside, right? If this zone fails, then we have the second one, right, which is like a more probable zone. We have fair value gap that's not been filled. We have like a structural liquidity underneath it, and then sweep of liquidity on the left hand side. So it looks like a very template on 30 minutes, so we can see it clearly. Okay, really not looking nice on 30 minutes. Let me see. All right, yeah. So look valid on 45 minutes. So we have this zone as the first zone of entry, point of entry, right? And if price should come here, one thing I'll do is just go to also M5, or yeah, it goes to M5 time frame, and then look for box pattern to play out, right? With that, you can have more confidence for the buy to the upside. And for the second area of interest, this looks valid already. right? Meaning price comes to this zone. Due to all of this that we've seen played out here, we expect that we are not taking out with this. There's a fair value gap, an order block just below it, and then uh, structural liquidity, we have liquidity around this zone, right, which you expect price to take out and then use that to reverse to the upside. So these are the positions I'm looking at for this morning. Like I said, US100 looks very good. We hope that it clears its own eye so that we can use that in anticipation of US30 clearing its own eye too, right? Usually they do that, right? And finally on S&P 500, we have almost the same analysis on both of them, right? Which is this S&P 500 has its own eye over here. We expect that price is going to clear it very soon, right? And then on the 4-hour time frame, let's look at for opportunities and those markets. All right, this looking like a very good opportunity already. Fair value gaps. Let me mark this fair value gap out here. And of course, this is like a breaker block that was rejected. Okay, right? So I'm looking at this, and then the other one is this zone, the second zone here below. It's like a fair value gap. Mark them properly. All right. On the 4-hour time frame, let's go to the 1-hour time frame, and we'll wait for. Okay, we have almost the same analysis as US100, right? We go to M30. Is it okay? Beautiful, beautiful. Makes sense. So this is what we have, right? So the first area of interest for me is this zone here, 1 hour back. Is this zone here, right? Price coming back to test this fair value gap, which on the left-hand side is serving like normal support and resistance, right? But this is a touch of liquidity and some ICT concept, right? So a break and then a retest, and this also will serve as inducement, which price can take out to continue the movement to the upside. So that's like my first point of entry or area of interest, right? And then the overall take profits, it's here for this position. The second one is below here, meaning if for any reason price violates this, then we have an under area of interest just below here, which also is giving us everything it should give, right? In terms of chart markup, right, and setup, right? Sweep, break to the upside, although there's no structural liquidity that is very clear, right? Yeah, but then it still goes, right? It still goes. So for today, we're looking US100 and S&P 500 side by side while waiting for the same thing to happen on US30, because US30 still has a long way to go on the daily time frame. Look at this. This is the overall however, look at US30, still have a very long way to go. Look at US100, not so much, right? So I'll be looking at them side by side today, US100, S&P 500, and also US30, and then we trade set up on US100 and also S&P 500, right? So those are my outlook for today. I believe it was helpful. Let me know in the comment section if you have any question and if you have any commentary, especially on the analysis being made, so that we can go through them together, right? So let's know in the comment section. Ayo, Chidiso, and Essay. How about gold? Usually we do analysis on gold and other precious metal on Mondays, Wednesdays, and on Friday, right? Tuesday and on Thursday are for US market and commodity asset classes. So one thing you want to do now is just go to our YouTube channel, watch the replay of yesterday. There's a gold analysis yesterday that was done. It's quite extensive, right? You can watch it and then have an idea of what you should know about it. Thank you so much for joining today. We'll be convening by 2 p.m. in the afternoon for the New York session. In that session, we'll just look at what the market has done, and then if there's any need to adjust our bias or our position in the market, we'll do that gladly. All right, thank you so much for joining this morning. Take care and wish you profitable trading. Cheers and God bless. Chidin, so you say, can you repeat S&P 500? Okay, this is what you do, right? Go to our YouTube channel immediately after this video is done. The replay will be there so you can watch it again. Just skip to the US30 part, all right? And you have the analysis to yourself. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. Once again, cheers and God bless. We meet by 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Until next time, cheers and God bless.